Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today doing a week one recap against the Detroit Lions. So for better or worse, as I mentioned, football is back. I still have the same feelings I had previously about this in the pandemic, but it's going forward and we'll see how well they're able to do it. But for the first week, football's happening. And so we got to see our Bears in action for the first time for this 2020 season. And it was different. It was weird. Obviously, I cover the Bears and do a lot of stuff. So I definitely have a understanding and appreciation for the off season and training camp and preseason. But I think everybody probably went into this game realizing wow, it is much more valuable than some people realize, because we haven't seen the players. This is our first time watching them. This is our first time seeing who's the starters. And we didn't really watch that journey into seeing, people earn starting spots that were kind of up for grabs and all that good stuff. I mean, you look at the quarterback competition, that's the number one example. We just one day heard Trubisky's the starter, and that's just kind of how it went. So it was interesting trying to get into the ebb and flow. And for me personally, I didn't, pay attention super hard because there wasn't a lot of news in the off season. So as far as injuries and stuff, so trying to figure that stuff out took a little bit at the beginning of the game. But anyway, let's get to the game. We did have a victory, so that's definitely worth celebrating. Let's get into it with the offense. So overall, I think I'm going to get an offense a B-. And honestly, the team overall, I feel the same way, but specifically with the offense, it's kind of been the same stuff, man. It's been the same stuff. I think back to Nagy's first year, where I talked about some of the stats that I thought were important for people that want to pay attention to see how well we do. Obviously, 2018, we played a lot better than we have in recent times. And so those stats, those specific lines that I looked at were way better than they were last year. And they were way better than the average of what today was. And so part of that was our third down conversion. In our third down, I would say just our third down conversion and then our red zone attempts. Obviously, towards the end of the game, the offense started to pick up, but for a long streak, you had failed third down attempts. We weren't converting. And again, if you want to be not just a effective offense, but a consistent offense, you have to be able to convert third downs. That's been a big issue prior to Nagy coming with John Fox, and that was a big issue last year with the team, where we got into third down situations and didn't pick up first downs, and we went 3 and out or had quick drives too often. So again, we talked a bit about this a while. It's not just the scoring opportunity you miss, but then you miss the opportunity to rest your defense. So you saw that again today. While we did run the ball, I would say more effectively than we're used to from last season, we still struggle with that third down conversion, and that's always going to be a big stat. So there was that. But then, like I said, the offense definitely found a better groove later on, and we were able to get the win by making some plays. So B- is where I'm going to settle with the offense. What I noticed, a lot of usage of the tight ends. Obviously, we know we had a lot of tight ends coming in. Our former starters are gone, but we still had a number of tight ends from our draft pick to Jimmy Graham and all that. And so while a lot of people had things to say about Jimmy Graham and their thoughts about what we would do, Jimmy was blocking. Jimmy was asked to go out there and block. And now, to be fair, we definitely used our tight ends for better or worse in the running game and passing game last year, more so in the running game. So it's not like it's brand new, but I think we use the tight ends a little more in the passing game than we did last year. And just a little, I wouldn't say creatively, just a little differently, at least based off this game. So not only Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet, Holtz, all those guys getting a part of the mix and really getting a part of the pass protection. I know some people are going to look at the run game and the offense as a whole and be like, yeah, see, well, also realize it's the same offensive line. Like I told you all last year, like Rashad Coward is an issue, but I don't believe that a solid right guard just completely changed our offensive line. We went through the film so many times, you know how I feel about it. So, yes, Ifedi's better, but this is the same offensive line. And that's why I was trying to say last year, like people were really, and I get it, they didn't perform up to par, but people were really trying to go crazy about the offensive line. And it's just like, okay, yes, we can point out some things, but this is the same line Jordan Howard had for the most part. And then today was the same line we had last year for the most part. And we recognize, obviously, with Massey, Leno as well, you need some extra help sometimes when we need to go max protect. And sometimes you're going to have to throw that in. And with the number of tight ends we have, it was feasible to do that. And I think it definitely helped not only the max protection to give Trubisky more time and feel comfortable, for some of those plays, but also I think just simplifying what he was looking at, because the more people in protection, less routes. And I just felt like that helped him a little bit as well, especially as we went down the stretch. But obviously Jimmy Graham made himself a known target, and it's no different than what I said when we signed him. That's what I expected him to do. And I know he's older, but for whatever reason, people think he wasn't going to be able to provide that. And I think he's still Jimmy Graham. Not what he was in his prime, but he's Jimmy Graham still. So, and then shout out to Dave Montgomery. There was definitely some things, and we'll continue to see him progress, that I critiqued last year, but by far our best option. So, never had any doubt about him being our starter. It was just a conversation about him understanding his zone. Now, one thing I will shout out, because I know Bill Lazor and everybody else is going to get so much credit, and that's fine. We'll go to the film. You know how we do, but I've already said how I felt about all that. I don't think it makes a huge difference. But what I will say is whoever decided to work with Tariq Cohen on his north and south, that is a huge boon for us. Now, he's not going to be a bell cow. He's not going to be our every down person. But if we can get him running plays like that when he is on the field, because the speed and acceleration is apparent. It's always been apparent. What's been the issue is his vision as far as bouncing it east to west. And we saw today, like when it was no hesitation, it was no, one cut and juke around. It was none of that. It was like, here's the gap. I'm hitting it. And you saw how effective it was. Now, obviously, there's a question of him getting hit and going into the teeth of the defense. But that's the position you play, man. You signed up for it. But if he could do that consistently, great. Cordell, not a fan. He's a receiver, and you can tell. His angles when he's running, his ability to wait for blocks, his vision. Like, yes, he's a good returner. Yes, he's a good yak receiver. Not necessarily a running back. So I'm not sure how I feel about the way we were using him in that way. But definitely, I think David Montgomery's on right track, and I like what I saw out of Tariq Cohen. And then Trubisky, he's Trubisky, man. He's Trubisky. Honestly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time outside of the film because we'll break down the film, but he's the same quarterback. I didn't see anything different. Going to the defense, that's tough. I got to give us a C+, man. I mean, because keep the caveat of this is the Lions. Like, let's not forget the opponent. It's the Lions. And this is the Lions minus Kenny Golladay. So, I didn't like how we performed, even to the last second. Like, let's all be honest. We definitely could have lost that game and probably should have. But I didn't like the way we performed on defense to our standards. And, yeah, I'll say that. In the run game, now I already know, because I was thinking, I'm like, man, we got Akeem Hicks and all this and that. And people were talking about, oh, that was the reason we couldn't stop the run. Obviously, we didn't stop the run either today. But I realized, like, oh, we don't got Eddie Goldman. There's the built-in excuse. It's always a built-in excuse. Like, yes, Eddie Goldman's a good player, and I've talked about him before. But and credit to the running backs they have in Detroit. But come on, man, it's the same. This is why I was saying, kind of overall, it's been the same conversation these last 3 years for me. Like, even before Nagy, like the odd front, I don't like it. And I know we play nickel, but I have to continue to stress this. It doesn't, I wouldn't say it doesn't matter. It matters because the players have a certain mentality in certain builds. So that's nice that we line up in an even front when we go nickel, but you have players who are used to two-gapping, players who are not used to penetrating. And the biggest problem is you have linebackers who are not used to going downhill. And well, I wouldn't even say that because of the odd front. Our linebackers don't go downhill because they're coverage guys. But odd front linebackers, they don't have gaps integrity. They're used to two-gapping. They're used to reading and reacting off the D-line. And you get suckered too many times that way, and we've seen it. And so our linebackers were really hurt today. And they're not they're cover guys. They were. Trevathan was. Roquan still is. They're not built to destroy people, so they get blocked pretty easily, and they don't come downhill. And that just plays right into the hand of a team like the Detroit Lions. And so when you don't have Akeem Hicks wrecking shop or Bilal Nichols, then they get to the linebackers, it's good night. And Adrian Peterson isn't even fast, and we saw what he was able to do. And so this is the same conversation that I've been having for years about us in the odd front and gap integrity. And as much as people want to say it's a passing league, stopping the run is important. It just is. And so we saw today, like once we weren't able to get a handle on the run, they started to play action off of that. And that's what really hurt us was those chunk plays. And so that's something we have to continue to look at. Pass rush. Oh my. Okay. Same conversation. Obviously Robert Quinn wasn't there, but it just highlights it even more. There's no help outside of Khalil Mack as far as pass rush. People can continue to say it all they want. And yes, big up to Akeem Hicks for his ability. But when Khalil Mack is not whooping somebody, it's really rough for our pass rush. And I mean, we can people have been arguing that, but look at the games. They kind of speak for themselves. And Khalil Mack, look, I'm not going to get too deep into it. We'll get to the film. I've talked about this last year. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it is not, the switch is not always on, is what I'll say. So yeah, that's what the pass rush is. Secondary, we need another safety. This Tayshaun, again, I said it from when, and people, I don't know why do people like to argue this, but he's a natural free safety. Like, I don't care what people use him as before. That's not really his position. He's more of a cover safety. And if you doubted that, you watch him today. Like, there's nobody coming filling the alley in the run game. There's nobody laying the wood like that. Like, no, he's pretty much like Eddie Jackson when it comes to the run game. And as far as pass defense, I wouldn't say the safeties were a big issue. We play a lot of zone, and they ate us across the middle, which was more the linebackers, which I'll get to. And so we'll kind of, we know what Eddie is. We'll kind of see how Gibson fits in. Jalen Johnson, right? At first I was like 33 because I forgot Snelly changed his name, and I was like, or Snelly, Shelly, always smelly. And I forgot, I was like, man, he got big. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's Jalen. So Jalen's got the start. Again, something we would have followed during the offseason in the regular year, but he got the start. And obviously he got trucked. That was one of the nastiest trucks I've seen. And we'll get to that. People will make gifts and stuff. I think that's going to hang around for a long time in his career. But overall, I liked it. He didn't seem overwhelmed by the speed as much as a potential concern was. And we'll see as he go against faster receivers. But he seemed to handle NFL speed. He definitely seemed to be physical enough with receivers, to at least, at the point of the catch and everything. He got the game winning deflection, if you want to call it that. So, I just like his size. I don't know why. I think he looked pretty normal at Utah, but here you could tell like he's a bigger corner. Maybe because, Kyle is not as big as him, it stands out, but he's a bigger corner. He'll put his nose in there, even though we saw what happened, but he'll put his nose in there when the ball's in the air. And that's what's important. He's not going to be scared of the 50-50 plays. And, that again, I said when we drafted him, it mirrors pretty well with Kyle Fuller, who, is more of a, at the point of attack type cornerback rather than a shadow follow you around the field type. Neither of them are that, but they will attack the ball. So I like what I saw out of him. And then so the biggest thing that stood out to me is they attacked Danny Trevathan badly. They attacked him. They went after him almost every other play. And even if it wasn't necessarily his responsibility, because you could pass off in zone, he was passing stuff off for nothing. Like a lot of times with Hockenson, when he would get past Trevathan wasn't being physical with him, but also he just let him go, but there was nobody in front of him. Like Trevathan, who are you covering? Who are you passing off Hockenson for? No one's coming. And so I just, obviously the rookies knew with Jalen, but you got to have that communication, out, in, cross, whatever it is, like talk. And you could tell they weren't talking. And so I like to see that better. But the point with Trevathan is you got an undersized linebacker who was built and known for coverage and sideline ability. And he's not as fast as he used to be. And although he has good aggression, he doesn't come downhill in the run game the way you want it either. So our defense has always been built on max coverage. We don't blitz a whole lot. We bring that forward pressure. We put our linebackers in coverage because they were really good at it. And Roquan's still obviously really good at it. And that was our big advantage. You always got whatever your advantages might be. Maybe you are a tenacious blitzing team. Maybe you got lockdown corners and you can go man coverage type. But we were an all-out zone. We had linebackers that could cover the middle of the field. And you saw it. It's not a coincidence that every time something happened, it was around Trevathan. And so, obviously, we took him over Nick Kwiatkowski. And Nick Kwiatkowski, while really good in the little bit of coverage he did, not a coverage linebacker. He's a downhill thumper. And so we said, okay, we value the coverage more, which I get. But now Trevathan doesn't seem to be giving us that coverage that he used to be. So now there's a question at middle linebacker because they really attacked him and they ate mostly over the middle of the field. That's mostly where they were eating at. Whether it was the tight ends or the running backs or even the receivers on a delay. Like when they try to go to the perimeter and stuff, it wasn't as effective. And so you got to have a eye on Trevathan. We'll get to the film and see. But that's kind of what I got out of it. Overall, I think the whole NFL so far, the games I've seen, has went more to the basics than the cute stuff. And I think that's out of necessity with a short and unusual offseason. And so I think, as I mentioned before, going with Trubisky makes sense. You're more comfortable. And now you just simplify it and stick to the things that you do well. I told a friend, I was like, I expect the this first week to look kind of like Thursday Night Football, where they're not trying to expand the playbook. They're not trying to do too much. They want to, stick to the basics. And I think the games have been pretty good so far. But overall, I get this feeling that it is more, tight ends, more running the ball, more play action, more defensive, like less formation shift, jet motion, bubble. Like it's less of the frills of spread and more of the tools of the old school football. And I think it served us well on offense, really well, where eventually you got Trubisky to some plays like people want to see a little bit of movement out of him. But also you get him into some plays where the receivers are clear. Now, obviously, there's still times he forced it to Allen Robinson trying to be his number one target, but there was some plays, I think, where you gave him a wide open, here's your target, and he's able to function that way. And then the running game, like I said, really helped complement us early on to where we were able to do some things off play actions. But obviously, when we get behind, that's not always going to be feasible. That turnover, the tip ball interception was huge for us. Short field, as I said last year, we didn't have a lot of short fields. Best scoring offenses always have short fields. And it just helps. It's better confidence. It's better flow. And so that really put us in the game. Without that, we can't run the ball from behind and win games. So we still got to get more proficient in the pass. Mooney, I heard a lot of people talking about him. People talk about almost every rookie every year. So obviously in the offseason we see more of that, but we didn't get that this year. So it was nice to sit back and see what he could do. I didn't write him off, but seeing him, I really like it. His stop ability is really, really high. And I think the more he learns routes, he's going to get even better. And so I'm looking forward to what he'll be able to bring. But yeah, overall, solid opening and still got some things to work on. I still think we're the Bears. I don't think we're anything drastically different than last year. But yeah, we'll kind of see. So, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. Look out for the film coming soon. And remember, stay up and bear down.